Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's on a lot of people's minds, the U.S. visa system for Indian citizens. It's this massive gateway for students, tech professionals, and families, but right now, it's hitting a major crossroads.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll kick things off with a pretty shocking new policy proposal that could change, well, everything. Then we're going to decode that whole visa alphabet soup, H-1B, L-1, all that stuff. We'll walk you through the actual application steps, look at the biggest hurdles people face, and finally take a peek at what the future of travel and work between India and the US might look like.
All right, first up, let's talk about the one thing that's been causing a huge stir lately. It's this potential policy change that's sending ripples of uncertainty through the whole system, especially for skilled workers in the tech world.
So this is the number that's got everyone talking. A proposed new fee, $100,000 for most new H-1B visa applications. Now, just to put that into perspective for you, the current fees are somewhere between, say, $1,700 and $4,500. So yeah, this isn't just a little price hike. It's a monumental, game-changing shift.
And you can bet the panic was immediate. This announcement, which came out of the Trump administration, apparently sent people scrambling. We're talking visa holders who were abroad, rushing back to the U.S. because they were terrified of getting locked out. It just created total chaos for the companies that rely on this talent, and of course for the people whose entire careers suddenly felt like they were hanging by a thread.
Okay, so after that initial firestorm, we did get some important clarifications. The key thing to know is that this proposed fee is meant to be prospective. What does that mean? It means it would only hit new applicants who are physically outside the United States. It's not designed to go back and affect current visa holders or people who've already got their applications in the system.
And this is really important too. There are some critical exemptions built into this proposal. We're talking about roles in healthcare and engineering, plus other jobs that are considered vital to U.S. national interests. So it kind of suggests the goal here isn't to just block all talent, but maybe to filter it in a very specific way.
Okay, so with that really high-stakes H-1B situation as our backdrop, let's zoom out for a minute. To really get a handle on how this all works, we've got to decode the entire visa alphabet soup. Because honestly, the H-1B, as important as it is just one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle.
So at the very top level, the system is basically split into two main paths. You've got immigrant visas on one side. That's the road to getting a green card and becoming a permanent resident, a much longer, tougher process. And then on the other side, which is what we're really going to focus on today, you have the non-immigrant visas. These are for temporary stays, for things like work, school, or just visiting.
So let's start with the big one, the most common category out there, the B1/B2 visa. Fun fact, India is the 5th largest source of international visitors to the U.S., and this visa is what makes that happen. It's usually issued as a combined visa. The B1 part covers temporary business stuff. Think meetings, conferences. The B2 part is for tourism, visiting family, or getting medical treatment. But here's the deal with this visa. You have to understand both its flexibility and its really strict limits. It can be valid for up to 10 years, which is great, and you can stay for up to 6 months on each visit. But, and this is a huge but, there is an absolute ironclad red line: you cannot work. Employment is strictly, totally forbidden.
Okay, next up, let's talk about students. The U.S. has some of the best universities in the world, so it's no surprise it's a top spot for Indian students. The F1 and M1 visas are basically the two main gateways for them to chase those educational dreams in America.
Now, the F1 is the one you hear about most often. That's for students in full-time academic programs, at universities or colleges. The M1, on the other hand, is a little different. It's for vocational or non-academic training. Think trade schools or technical courses.
And if you look at the numbers, you can see a really clear strategy playing out. In the 2023-24 school year, India actually overtook China as the #1 source of international grad students in the U.S. And get this, a staggering 76% of them are studying in STEM fields. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. So this isn't just about getting a degree, it's about creating a direct talent pipeline into the hottest sectors of the U.S. economy.
And now we come to the visa that's always in the headlines, the H-1B. This is the main work visa for professionals in what the government calls specialty occupations. What does that mean? Basically, jobs that need a high level of specialized knowledge and, at the very least, a bachelor's degree in a specific field. For the Indian IT and tech industries, this visa is their lifeblood.
And you really can't overstate how important this is. For fiscal year 2024, it's estimated that a whopping 71% of all approved H-1B petitions were for applicants from India. This one visa is a fundamental pillar of that tech talent bridge between the two nations. You see giants like Amazon, TCS, Microsoft, and Google as the top sponsors every year.
So, as the H-1B faces all this pressure we've been talking about, another visa is kind of quietly becoming this powerful strategic alternative, and that's the L-1 visa. It's designed for intra-company transferees. It lets big multinational companies move their key people from an office overseas to a related office right here in the U.S.
The L1 itself is split into two flavors. You've got the L1A, which is for managers and executives. It's all about moving leadership talent. Then there's the L1B, and that's for employees who have specialized knowledge. Think about things like proprietary tech, unique company processes, or just deep expertise in the company's products. And here's the kicker. The L1 has no annual cap. That makes it way more predictable than the H-1B lottery.
So beyond those big ones, there are a couple of other important paths to know about. The J-1 visa is all about exchange programs, fostering cultural and educational ties. And then you have the O-1 visa. This one's for people with proven extraordinary ability in their field. Science, arts, business, you name it. The bar is incredibly high, you have to prove you're at the top of your game, but it's become another key way for top-tier talent to bypass that whole H-1B mess.
All right, so we've decoded the visa alphabet. You might have an idea of which one fits you, but how do you actually apply for it? Let's walk through the playbook, a step-by-step guide to what you actually have to do on the ground in India. So the whole process usually breaks down into 4 main steps. It all kicks off online with something called the DS-160 form. That's where you put in all your personal info and what you plan to do. Next, you pay the application fee. It's non-refundable, by the way, and it's around $185 for a tourist visa. Then you schedule 2 different appointments, one for your biometrics, fingerprints, and a photo at a visa application center, or VAC. And then the final, most critical step, the visa interview itself. And that final super important interview? It's going to happen at one of the 5 U.S. diplomatic missions across India. You've got the main embassy in New Delhi, and then there are consulates in major hubs like Chennai, Hyderabad, Kolkata, and Mumbai, so they've got the country covered.
Now listen up, because timing is everything. You have to start this process way in advance. I'm talking weeks, but more realistically, months, before you plan to travel, because the wait times for appointments can be all over the place. Students do get a bit of a break, though. The F1 visa window opens up a full 365 days before their program starts. And hey, if you have a genuine documented emergency, you can request an expedited appointment, but you have to do all the initial steps first.
Okay, so on paper, the process seems pretty straightforward, right? Fill out a form, pay a fee, go to an interview. But in reality, the system is just packed with significant hurdles. And honestly, understanding these challenges is just as important as knowing the steps, because this is the reality for so many applicants.
This right here, this lays bare the single biggest challenge in the entire system. Look at the H-1B visa for 2024. You had companies putting in over 780,000 registrations to hire skilled workers. And how many visas were actually available? Just 85,000. That number was set by Congress decades ago. This isn't a gap, it's a canyon between demand and supply.
And when you have a gap that huge, it forces a really tough outcome. A random, computerized lottery just to decide who even gets a chance to apply. It really makes you ask a fundamental question, doesn't it? Is this a system based on merit, designed to find the best talent, or has it just become a game of chance?
And beyond just the H-1B lottery, applicants from India face their own unique set of pressures. I mean, the sheer number of people applying creates this intense competition for every single visa type. For students, there's a massive financial hurdle. You have to prove you have access to liquid funds, somewhere between 25 to 45 lakhs. The demand for perfect, flawless paperwork is huge. And then there's the interview itself. It's short, it's high pressure, and you've got to be clear, confident, and convincing in just a few minutes.
So with a system that's so full of hurdles and challenges, the conversation naturally turns to, well, what's next? What does the future look like? We need to look at the reforms people are talking about and the growing importance of these alternative visas for keeping the flow of talent moving between India and the U.S.
This table really helps bring the strategic differences in a sharp focus. See, you've got the B1/B2 for visiting, no work allowed. The F1 for students with some limited work options. But now look at the H-1B versus the L1. Both allow you to work, sure, but only the H-1B has that crippling annual cap that leads to the lottery. And that, right there, is why the L1 has become such a key strategic tool.
And really, this is just the logical outcome of that H-1B crunch. When the main path becomes so restrictive, so uncertain, and potentially so expensive, what do? Companies and top-tier individuals are forced to get creative. They're strategically pivoting. They're looking much more closely at the L1 visa for their internal transfers and the O1 visa for those truly exceptional individuals. They're looking for predictability in a system that's become a lottery.
Looking to the future, there seems to be a growing consensus that the whole lottery system is broken. There are some significant reform proposals on the table, and they all aim to shift the H-1B away from just random chance. The big idea is to create a system that prioritizes applications for higher-skilled and, importantly, higher-paid workers. That way, the limited number of visas would go to the most valuable and sought-after talent, not just the luckiest.
You know, ultimately, this really gets to the heart of what we're talking about. This isn't just about paperwork and fees. These visa policies are a fundamental part of the relationship between the world's two biggest democracies. The flow of students, of engineers, of doctors, that's what builds the economic and cultural bridges that define this incredibly important partnership.
Which leaves us with one last, kind of provocative thought to chew on. If that main pathway for top Indian talent to come to the US, the H-1B, becomes more and more restricted, what happens then? Does that talent just stay home? Does it end up fueling India's own booming tech scene and innovation? It's a really complex question about the future of how talent moves around the globe.
All right, to dig even deeper into all this and to help you keep it all straight, be sure to head over to our website. We've put together a complete set of detailed notes and a really helpful mind map from today's explainer. The link is right there in the description. Thanks for watching.